If you've been following Ubisoft news over the last few days, then you'll know that the company is in serious trouble right now. It is practically imploding with how poorly their products have been performing over the last few major releases, and the impact that's had on future releases is pretty major. Just looking at Ubisoft's stock right now, mother of God, $2.25. We haven't seen their stock, their share price that low since, let's see, 2013 here. Yeah, that is over 11 years ago. And you can see right here just by how much the company's stock price has fallen. So what is going on here? Well, it starts with a string of failures. X-Defined, for example, their essentially Call of Duty-like game that was supposed to be a major live service, that has fallen behind expectations. It had an initial good launch, but the engagement of that just really didn't stick for the long term, and so Ubisoft isn't happy with the results. We got Skull and Bones, the live service that was in development for far too long because it was essentially an obligation after government funding. Just looking at Steam charts, you can see that based on the all-time peak here and how many people are checking the game out, that this game isn't performing particularly well. That is what I call a doomed live service. Then there's Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which I don't believe we have seen exact sales figures on, but the fact that it went 40% off 12 days after release might suggest that it did not at least fully meet expectations. It didn't sell super gangbusters. There is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which underperformed woefully. And this one really is a shame because this is actually a very good Metroidvania title, but it only sold around 300,000 copies, and it probably was a net loss ultimately for Ubisoft. But the real kicker, ladies and gentlemen, is their new Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws, which carries the Star Wars name behind it and was a big AAA title that Ubisoft was heavily riding on for their financial guidance, only selling 1 million copies within a month if this insider gaming report is to be believed. Just for context, Like a Dragon 8, which some might consider to be sort of a more niche IP compared to Star Wars, that sold 1 million within a week. Ubisoft did admit previously that Star Wars Outlaws sales did not meet expectations, but they didn't really emphasize just how bad the sales were. Just 1 million in a month is really a far cry from how this game needed to do to recoup its money and to be deemed a success. And so that finally brings us to developments surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows and how that game has been impacted by all of Ubisoft's previous failures and just the fact that investors are having less and less confidence in the company to the point where their stock price dipped to the lowest we've seen in over 11 years. But before we talk about that, if gaming on the go is your jam, you'll want to stick around for the sponsor of today's video, the REDMAGIC Nova Gaming Tablet, which I've had the great pleasure of playing on for the last few weeks. First thing to note about this tablet is how powerful it is, featuring a high-end Snapdragon Gen 3 leading version chip that makes this an incredibly powerful device for gaming. With an LPDDR5 X plus UFS 4.0 processor and a high-performance cooling system, this gaming tablet achieves an Antutu benchmark score of 2.3 million, so performance won't be an issue. No matter what I threw at it, games would play and run without a hitch at high fidelity. I mean, I played everything from games that run natively on the tablet to emulated games with scaled up resolution to even cloud gaming experiences like PlayStation's Remote Play that made this tablet and setup feel like a more advanced and feature-complete PlayStation Portal. And with this large 10.9-inch 16:10 144Hz refresh rate and 840Hz instant sampling rate screen, images looked large, clear, sharp, colorful, and smooth, and gameplay just felt super responsive. Sound was also given the royal treatment with the DTS Ultrasound 4-speaker setup for loud, clear, and immersive audio. And add on top of that the 10,100 milliamp hour battery with 80-watt fast charging, and you'll find yourself gaming for long stretches without worries. For long gaming sessions, it helps that the device is just super lightweight at only 530 grams, so it's super portable and comfortable to hold and carry for long stretches, not to mention how sleek and premium it looks and feels thanks to its all-metal chassis and unique exterior design. If you're looking for a powerful gaming tablet, you can get your REDMAGIC Nova gaming tablet by using my link in the description and comment section below. Anyway, back to Ubisoft's turmoils and its impact on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Things got kind of sus when on September 24th, 2024, Insider Gaming reported that Ubisoft canceled press previews of Assassin's Creed Shadows. They were supposed to allow them to get hands on the game. Ubisoft hosts these quite often, and I myself can confirm that this is true. I was supposed to have a remote session for this game, and then we got notice that that got pushed back. I don't know if there were any like in-person events planned for other media, but yeah, I definitely know that this is true. And so the question was, why did this happen? Well, we finally learned on September 25th, 2024, when through official social media channels, Ubisoft announced that Assassin's Creed Shadows would be delayed to February 14th, 2025. That's a delay from November 12th of 2024, marking a 3-month-long delay. Why they delayed the game? Well, that's explained in the following statement that reads, "Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us, finally bringing the series to Feudal Japan with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour or the renewed stealth brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful and immersive world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of two unique protagonists, but we realize we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As such, we have made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14th, 2025. The game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam at launch. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded, and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. We understand the decision will come as disappointing news, especially to those who have been waiting patiently for an Assassin's Creed game inspired by Feudal Japan, but we sincerely believe this is in the best interest of the game and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we're looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Naoe and Yasuke. Until then, we thank you for your ongoing support." Beyond this statement to the public, Ubisoft also sent a letter to its investors, and among the quotes within this letter reads as follows, according to this Ars Technica article: "While the game is feature complete, the learnings from the Star Wars Outlaws release led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. This will enable the biggest entry in the franchise to fully deliver on its ambition, notably by fulfilling the promise of our dual protagonist adventure with Naoe and Yasuke bringing two different gameplay styles. The game will mark the return of our new releases on Steam day one." So remember how I said previously that money talks, that the only language that these corporations speak is money? We are seeing that in full effect with how they're handling Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft is realizing that the bubble is bursting, that they can no longer get away with the practices that they have because people are kind of getting more and more tired of their antics. It's now that their bank accounts are being tremendously affected that they're starting to listen to some of the feedback that the community has been sharing for a long time now, like release these games on Steam on day one, because that's just sales you're missing out on because some people just flat out refuse to engage with your Ubisoft Connect platform or the Epic platform. They want the game on Steam because that's the platform that they're familiar with. Beyond that, they're no longer doing early access bullshit and they're giving out the first expansion for free. There have been a lot of complaints about the way they've been locking certain content behind certain tiers and editions of the games that they launch. Now they are kind of trying to win back consumer goodwill by giving away content that they normally would sell separately. So there's all this stuff happening where, yes, it's a good thing that it's happening, but it took a game like Star Wars Outlaws utterly and completely bombing for them to be like, all right, maybe it's time we stop fucking with customers and start, treating them with some semblance of respect. And then beyond that, they do say here that they want to refine the experience further, fix the bugs and glitches, and polish the game. And that's always a good thing. And I think ultimately the delay will serve the game better. But this is just, it's so funny to see the different tune that a company can take when people decide not to give money to these corporations because they're kind of getting sick and tired of their shenanigans. And you can really see how shaken up Ubisoft is by Star Wars Outlaws' poor sales. When you look at this internal memo that Insider Gaming leaked, this memo was sent to staff discussing the delay. And here are some of the notable quotes from that from Yves Guillemot. "Star Wars Outlaws' initial sales proved softer than expected." That's how the memo opens with, suggesting that this really slapped them back into reality and made them realize that they cannot just repeat the same mistakes with Assassin's Creed Shadows. The memo noted how there are areas of improvement that Star Wars Outlaws needs and that the development teams are already hard at work on this, focusing on save issues, stealth mechanics, more frequent quest checkpoints, and better NPC AI. Players expect extraordinary experiences and ultra-polished games on day one, says this memo. Wow, at long last, you get the message. No shit. Congratulations on the epiphany that everyone's known about. Ubisoft has gotten complacent with polish, and now that it's finally starting to bite them in the ass, they're saying, oh, we should maybe actually start focusing on polish and ensuring that the game's released in the best state possible on day one. Go figure. The memo continues. Consequently, we decided to delay Assassin's Creed Shadows to February 14th, 2025. This is motivated by our desire to offer an optimal experience from launch on all platforms and various PC configurations, and to remove the small frictions we typically use to address in post-launch title updates. Hallelujah, they're finally getting the message. We will also use the extra time to complement the experience with a few high-impact secondary quests that will bring even more memorable moments. And it is emphasized right here that it's not just Assassin's Creed Shadows that is trying to change its season pass model, but rather this is something that's being done across the board, stating right here, we're currently rethinking our season pass model for our upcoming games across the board. And then for Assassin's Creed Shadows specifically, all players will have access to the game at the same time, so no early access bullshit, which is something that they've been doing with their last few releases to very poor feedback. And those who have pre-ordered the game will get the first expansion for free. And one other thing that Ubisoft addressed was the sentiments surrounding some of the creative choices surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows, like featuring Yasuke as a protagonist. The memo states right here, I'd like to address the recent polarized coverage around our creative choices. We are an entertainment company. As such, our objective is not to endorse any specific agenda. Our mission has always been to entertain players and enrich their lives with original and memorable experiences that resonate with a global audience. There's plenty of division surrounding the choice of using sort of an African character, even if this character existed, but to feature Yasuke as a full-fledged samurai as the protagonist of a game set in Japan instead of going fully Japanese with the protagonist. But beyond that, there are elements of people noticing aspects of Japanese history that cause controversy. So, for example, this is an article from July 10th, 2024, involving Ubisoft having to apologize for using a real-life reenactment group's flag in Assassin's Creed Shadows concept art without permission, specifically the Sekigahara Tepotai flag. This is definitely them taking somebody else's work and using it as their own. This is definitely an infringement, which is why one of the members of the group tweeted the following: I registered as a user and contacted Ubisoft's Japan support via inquiry form. I told them that the concept art depicts the Sekigahara Rifle Corps flag, and that if they wanted to officially use it, they should contact the representative. So yeah, one of the artists either just got lazy or didn't do their research and thought this was actually part of Japan's history. Either way, not a good look. And then beyond that, there is this particular issue involving the use of a one-legged Tory in a figurine that Ubisoft is set to release for Assassin's Creed Shadows, except that has certain implications. The one-legged Tory represents a Tory gate that survived the Nagasaki atomic bombing, so it feels ignorant to use that particular imagery for a figurine for a feudal Japanese setting where the one-legged Tory has no relevance, and it just doesn't seem to understand the rather dark implications of what the one-legged Tory represents. So that's another area that's being scrutinized and criticized. And if this most recent leak from Insider Gaming is to be believed, a reason for why the game was delayed was to change some of those historical elements that people have spotted that were deemed to be inaccurate, where it might be potentially deemed disrespectful to the culture and the like. And so this is what Insider Gaming reported. They also highlighted how Star Wars Outlaws sales, their initial sales of just 1 million units in a month, that had a significant impact on the decision to delay Assassin's Creed Shadows to Q1 of 2025 and to give it a day one release on Steam, as to expand their audience base as much as possible instead of limiting PC sales only to those who feel like using Ubisoft's Connect platform, which is just not something that a lot of people want to do. But beyond that, it was highlighted right here that Assassin's Creed Shadows delay ultimately boils down to a strict development timeline, polishing and addressing the Japanese community's cultural and historical accuracy concerns. Now, some people are saying that they're going to take this time to fully remove Yasuke and replace the protagonist. That's a silly assumption. There's no way you can just replace an entire protagonist within the span of a 3-month-long delay, and Insider Gaming confirms that Yasuke is not going to be removed, but the team has been actively addressing many of the historical and cultural concerns, including changing some of Yasuke's story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensuring that the game is historically grounded. As for why some of these historical inaccuracies happen, apparently historical experts were brought onto the project much later than usual for a project of this magnitude, and that miscommunication between teams and cutting corners when it came to the approval process of assets to meet deadlines were also at play. So basically, historical experts just weren't involved early enough in the project to make sure that all of the verifications of historical accuracy were there from the outset, and so just stuff slipped through the cracks. And then finally, Insider Gaming also confirms that they're trying to polish the game up and resolve issues with bugs. All of that is pretty self-explanatory. Apparently, there are some tweaks to gameplay mechanics and elements that are going to take time to incorporate that also contributed to the delay. Though apparently developers have been pushing for the game to be delayed for some time, and it wasn't until Star Wars Outlaws bombed that Ubisoft higher-ups decided to listen. 7 developers working on the project said that they have been pushing for a delay for some time. Yet another example of corporate higher-ups not listening to reason, only listening to money. The fact that all of these developers who are in the trenches, who know when a game needs a delay, telling the higher-ups, hey, let's delay the game so that it can come out better and in turn do better for your business, the fact that they're not being listened to, and it took Star Wars Outlaws, a game of that magnitude, selling so poorly, for them to finally go, maybe they have a point, just highlights why these people shouldn't, the higher-ups shouldn't have the jobs that they do. And so yeah, we're at a point now where Ubisoft stock is the lowest it's been in almost 11 years. We're at a point now where activist investors like Asia Investments are saying that they're working with other Ubisoft shareholders to push the company to sell itself to private equity firms or to Chinese gaming giant Tencent, which already holds a stake in the French game publisher, because they're so unhappy with the way the current leadership is handling the company. Developers aren't happy with Ubisoft's leadership. Players aren't happy with Ubisoft's leadership. Investors aren't happy with Ubisoft's leadership. This is kind of looking like a sinking ship as long as leadership remains that way, and so long as Yves Guillemot's leadership continues to permeate the company's practices. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this situation develops over the next few days, months, and years. I'll be curious to see if Assassin's Creed Shadows ultimately does have a good launch, if this delay will help enough, or it can allow the game to achieve enough of its full potential where it will sell well enough to start allowing Ubisoft to do some kind of financial comeback. But for now, behind the scenes, it's quite the disarray, and the trajectory that the company's on right now is a pretty abysmal one, with all of the strings of failures that seem to be coming in one after another. If Assassin's Creed Shadows ends up being another one such failure, I mean, I don't know if the company can recover. But yeah, there's a lot riding on this game, clearly, given the consideration to delay this and to give the first expansion out for free. They're that desperate at this point. I'll say again, hit them in the wallet, and they will actually start showing some semblance of caring about customers. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything you need to know about the current situation with Assassin's Creed Shadows, with Star Wars Outlaws, with the current state of Ubisoft. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Ubisoft's future prospects and the prospects of their upcoming titles. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.